Right, Eric Mangini now joins us live. He is based right now in Cleveland, Ohio. Of all the places, he picked Cleveland. He loves Cleveland. He's a Cleveland man through and through. There's no reason to make Cleveland jokes. It's a fine city. Fine city.
Colin, you started off with a little parenting advice. They don't hate you. They're just disappointed. That is the classic parenting line. And then very, very good. I was taking notes. It was great stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. So I will say he's not as likable, but I keep reading all these NFL preview magazines. Everybody loves Cleveland. You're there. You get to see it. Am I nuts here? What? Are they a potentially AFC championship level team?
Yeah, they're underrated. And here's why. Deshaun Watson has benefited from the attention that Aaron Rodgers has gotten, the attention that Russell Wilson has gotten. Everybody forgets that he was an elite quarterback. And a few years ago, he was throwing 33 touchdowns and 7 picks. He had a 112 quarterback rating. And the difference between him and those other guys is he's 28 years old. He's in the prime of his career. Now he's moved a year away from all the offseason problems. He's got 6 games in the system. He's got a full offseason with the team. There's so many things that are pointing in the direction of him being able to get back to that form that he was in. And now the Browns added a veteran defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, who I like a lot. They've still got the great offensive line and great offensive line coach. And they've got so many pluses going for them, and they're somewhat under the radar compared to a lot of teams we talk about.
So I know it's not everything, but because starters don't play, first of all, preseason's a game shorter. Fewer starters are playing since McVay decided to not play anybody, and it worked. So practice feels like, to me, especially inter-squad practices, feel like a bigger deal today. One versus ones you don't get a lot of that in practice, and I think I talked to a couple coaches about this. Like, practice now is a little bit bigger deal. So when Dak's out there throwing bad picks off last year, it feels like something. He's not a rookie, and I saw the footage of him. And Eric, some are bad, some are like staring people down. What do you make of it?
I don't love it. I don't think that you can just turn things on and off. And even though you stand up in front of the media and say, I'm not going to throw interceptions like I threw last year, I didn't love the way he even answered that question, where he kind of threw the receivers under the bus, where he said that this year the receivers will be in the right spots. It wasn't even like he took full accountability for the picks that he did throw last year. And that's not a good thing. I don't like the way the DBs respond to him when he throws a pick. It doesn't feel like just trash talk. It felt more disrespectful than that.
Yeah.
So that's not the most encouraging thing in the world either. And we can say that practice isn't important, but it is. And if you're consistently making those mistakes in practice, odds are you're going to make him the game. And as much as you want to talk about the improvements you've made, you need to show those improvements on a consistent basis.
So we said this at the top of end of last hour, is that when you've got a young quarterback, I think you can identify pretty quickly the wow factor. Herbert, Lamar, Mahomes. I don't think it would have taken you long to go, okay, this is just different, right? I'm watching Lamar. I went back this morning. I got up really, really early, and I got up this morning, and I went back and watched his rookie year highlights. He was so fast. It didn't even look. It was like you were speeding up the video when he was flying past linebackers and corners. So the wow is pretty obvious. So if you don't have wow, the question becomes, how does the grading scale go? So Daniel Jones' number, our staff did a good job. They put it on the screen. And he completed like 67% of his throws. Passer rating low 90s. Didn't throw a lot of touchdowns, but he didn't make any mistakes. And I said on the air, I think if you give me that, I probably keep him. He's not losing games. You tell me, if Jordan Love gave you the Daniel Jones numbers, 15 touchdown passes in 2023 is half of what I want. Do you just say he's not losing me games?
Well, my experience with Tom Brady is his first year, there was no wow. If anything, it was the opposite. It wasn't very good at all, and he didn't have to play. And then when he gets the opportunity to play, it was okay. It was okay, and he consistently got better. So guys can improve that position, and I've seen it and witnessed it firsthand. Now, the difference is with Jordan Love, he's been there. He's been in the system. He's had the time to sit and watch. The expectation there is much higher. Tom was a sixth-round draft pick. Jordan was a first-round draft pick. You've got $40 million in dead money for Aaron Rodgers, and you've given up so much to create this opportunity for him. The expectations are a little bit different. Now, if the ceiling that you get this year is he doesn't get you beat, okay, you're banking on the fact that next year it's going to pop and now he's going to be able to start winning games. But the equation is different because how long he's been there and how much they've given up and how much more experience he has than young guys that just get thrown into the fire.
Yeah, and there's no chaos there, so it's a well-run organization. So I watched the story of, and I've said this, the only thing I worry about with Aaron, it's not the media, it's not Saleh, it's the O-line. He's going to be 40 in December. Old quarterbacks don't like to get hit. They don't know what their tackle situation is. If Dwayne Brown doesn't give you 17 games and plays 12, this could be a mess on the edges. By the way, Buffalo twice, Patriots were third in sacks, Bills pass rush. They play the Eagles, Denver, the Chargers, Browns. There's a lot of pass rushers. They played Kansas City, Chris Jones. So my question is, when you look at the Jet situation, you had Favre. He was an older quarterback. And Favre's early career, he was run around Brett Favre, the gunslinger, the ad-libber. But when you got him, and contrast that or compare it to Aaron, did Favre not want to get hit as much? Did you notice, as an old quarterback coming to the Jets, how did he look at O-line play, getting hit, ad-libbing?
Well, we had a really good offensive line.
Yes, you had DeBrickashaw.
We had DeBrickashaw Ferguson. We had Nick Mangold, who was excellent. We brought in Alan Faneca. We had Damian Woody. We had a really, really good offensive line when he got there. And the Jets are taking some hits on their offensive line. I understand that. But it's not like they haven't put resources into it. Two of the offensive linemen are among their top 5 highest paid players right now with Dwayne Brown, Lake, and Tomlinson. Then they drafted 2 guys number 1 or in the first round, and they've drafted a second rounder. So they put resources in it. It just hasn't been very productive because of injuries, continuity, all those things. Now, the good news for them too is people are going to play Aaron Rodgers differently. The Jets should be able to run the ball effectively because of how many 7-man boxes that they're going to get. Breece Hall is good. That just takes some pressure off of Aaron as well. And Aaron's smart. Aaron's going to get the ball out quickly. He's not going to take the hits that some younger guys would take. Where it could kill him, Colin, is when the whole world knows you have to pass. In those 2-minute situations, if you got to go no huddle because you're down by a lot, that's where you can really get exposed. If they can manage the games, then the exposure is much smaller.
Yeah. So tonight, Denver plays. Sean Payton has said, we want to give him some reps. So speaking of O-line, the first thing Payton did, Mike McGlinchey, Ben Powers, they upgraded the O-line. They get their left tackle back. So I think Denver's O-line will be the most improved part of the team beyond the coach. What's realistic for Russell? He's lost a little weight. I just want to see him move more because, it's funny last year. I have this theory on him, is that he got the big contract and he thought to himself, hey, I'm not going to be a runaround guy like these young guys. I'm a veteran now. I got the bag. I want to sit in the pocket and show I can do this. And it's like, dude, you got to lean into your fastball. You're a mover. That was my takeaway on it. So what do you want to see? What do you expect to see?
Colin, there is so much truth to what you're saying. And the old adage, you see a lot of good young running quarterbacks, but not a lot of good old ones.
Right.
Because of how much they get hit. And when guys get paid a ton of money, they want to see that contract through it and make sure they earn every dollar. And they're not doing that when they're running around a ton. But you're absolutely right, too, about the fact that his greatest asset wasn't always scrambling. It was his ability to bide time.
Yeah.
The way that he could make defensive linemen move, miss and extend plays. he has to lean back into that, or else he's not going to be the guy he was, and teams aren't going to treat him the same. He's going to get different type of rush patterns and blitzes. So yeah, lean into it. At least lean into it early, so that everybody now is worried about it and game planning for it, and then you can pull back some. My fear there, Colin, too, is how quickly he picks up the system. It's a lot of shifting, motioning, multiple personnel groups. It's very different than what he's dealt with in the past, and it's going to be interesting to see where that landing spot is between that, as Sean said, his greatest hits and the things that Sean wants to do with the offense he brought in.
So you were the Niner defensive coordinator and the Patriot defensive coordinator, and the one thing Belichick does, and I think they do it, and you were part of this, and you can explain it as well as anybody. I didn't care much about C.J. Stroud last night. What I noticed was, even with their backups, they just create constant pressure and chaos. It's just Bills. I mean, I don't think they have the third best defensive line talent. They were third in the league in sacks. And they're always near the top in pressures and hits, even if they don't get sacks. And I watched that last night. Ball snapped, 1,001. The O-line unravels. What is the secret sauce to Bill in that pass rush? Because I don't always think they have the best personnel.
Yeah, well, the first thing we always try to do is take away what they did best and make sure that they play left-handed. And then the second thing is you're gonna identify the greatest weaknesses and make sure that you attack it. And that seems very simplistic, but not everybody has the defensive flexibility to do that. Most teams, they have their scheme, they have things in their scheme that they can use to attack. But in New England, because we had smart players, because we built versatility into everything that we did, and we were so intensely game plan specific, we can exploit other teams' weaknesses. We could do that. And we could really effectively take away their strengths, so quarterbacks are sitting back there not getting the normal answers that they get. But it takes time, and it takes the right type of guys in the room to execute that stuff.
Yeah. So, so much of a quarterback room, if you've got a star quarterback, it's actually, not only is it easier because you have a star, but it's easier because everybody in the room knows he's quarterback one, right? It real clarifies the room. But when you got Brock Purdy, Trey Lance was a number one pick, you bring in Sam Darnold, it's a little bit of a balancing act. They're all a little insecure. Two are coming off injuries. One may get traded. Darnold's a reclamation project. How would you balance, because this is a loaded roster. I mean, there's nothing in their way outside of quarterback. How do you balance all this stuff?
It's actually easier in the situation that San Francisco's in now than it was when Jimmy was there. I would imagine it would have been much more awkward when Jimmy was there and you draft Trey Lance. And not only do you draft Trey Lance, but you trade everything away that you did to go get Trey Lance. That's an incredibly awkward situation. And Jimmy's extremely well-liked, very popular in the locker room. With the three guys that are there now, they're all unproven in their own way. They all have warts in their own way, and they all have really positive things that you can cheer for. But from a staff perspective and from a team perspective, you can be a lot more objective than if you've got a guy you really like who's done a lot of good things, and suddenly you got this young guy that hasn't proven anything, and the team wants to thrust him into a starting role.
Yeah. All right, Eric Mangini, great seeing you as always. Enjoy Cleveland. How's the weather in Cleveland late summer? How is it?
Actually, this is one of the best times of year in Cleveland. It's beautiful. It's cooling off a little bit, but still very nice. Gets dark late. So when you come to visit, this would be the time of year that you should come visit me, Colin. I know that's on your to-do list. So.
It is. I have to do a couple things in Manhattan Beach this late summer, or else I'd scamper over there.
Yeah. Well, I'll be waiting.
All right. Good seeing you, Coach. Yeah, I'm so excited for tonight. It's ridiculous. Even last night, it was after the C.J. Stroud interception. I was like, all right, I got to see some backups. And I saw Malik Cunningham. He was a Louisville quarterback. New England got him, and he's fun. But I look at New England. They're just – I was texting a buddy who's a Patriot insider last night, and I'm like, man, Malik Cunningham's their most interesting offensive player. He's a third-string quarterback. He's probably never going to play. That's the guy I'd want to see on the field. He reminded me a little bit of a poor man's Lamar Jackson. He's not Lamar Jackson, but kind of thin, moves around a lot. Defensively, you got to make choices on him. I don't know if he plays, but Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.